All right, we are live. Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to CMGR Hangout, the community built by, for, and managed by community managers. Today we're going to be talking about enterprise social networks, which, if you're not familiar, is generally a term used for building internal community. We have tons of great experts with us today who know a lot more about this than I do, so I will not try to explain it to you. But if you like what you're seeing here today or have a topic idea or a suggestion, go ahead and go to mycmgr.com/participate and let us know what you'd like us to talk about in the future. Without further ado, go ahead and let the panel introduce themselves. Lonnie, let's get started with you.
Great. Thanks, Sherry. Hi, everybody. Lonnie French here, Community Manager of our Enterprise Social Network at Guardian Life Insurance, based in New York. I've been there a little over a year now, helping to launch the ESN using Yammer. Previous was the Community Manager for our ESN at Pitney Bowes in Stamford, Connecticut. Really excited to be here and chat with everybody and learn from everyone as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Lonnie. Jennifer, how are you?
Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer Honig, and I'm broadcasting from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I founded a company called Textra Solutions that helps corporations build social communities leveraging ESN technology and really focusing on the business value associated with these types of tools. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jennifer. Chris, how are you doing today?
Hey, good. You see me?
Yep, you're good. Go for it.
All right. Yes, yeah, to be able to talk with everybody about ESNs and kind of share the great things happening within Walgreens and on the panel with Brian and Jennifer, and also
Great. Thanks, Chris. Brenda, how are you?
I'm doing great, Sherry. Thanks for having me here today. My name is Brenda Rick-Smith, and I'm the Community Manager for Buzz, the Enterprise Social Network for Humana. Delighted to be here and put faces with names. It's great to see all of you today.
Shall I?
Thanks, Brenda.
All right, everyone. Hi, this is Anirban. I'm logging in from India right now. It's so I'm a day ahead of all of you. I'm the community manager for Optimize, which is a sales performance management and sales teams motivation company, right? And we have an internal community. We're just getting started, and looking forward to hear from all of you and implement some of that.
Very cool. All right, thanks everyone. Chris, I don't know if you want to take a moment and kind of explain where your vision for this panel came from, since it was your idea.
We were able to that, but we've with Walgreens, and then also with weekly chat that we have with from I thought really good to dive into enterprise social networks, internal community operation, and allowed and unpack and have discussion, the internal are in companies and role of,
Hey Chris, one's in and out a lot.
What's that?
You're cutting in and out a lot, Chris. You're cutting in and out like a lot. If you can go up to the top of the video and adjust your bandwidth down on the signals, I think that might help. We're just having a hard time hearing you because you're going in and out.
Oh, all right. Bandwidth. Getting the full ability of tools here.
Yes, so on the top where you see the video and the microphone, there's signal bars to adjust bandwidth usage. If you just drop it down a little bit, it might help. So in case that didn't fully go through for everyone, Chris is at Walgreens and has had a really great year building internal community there. And we just lost him, but hopefully he'll be back. And he approached me about this panel because he wanted to share a lot of what they've learned to kind of help others building ESNs as well. But let's just get started with question one. So what is the current state of ESN community management? Where do you see it heading, and how is it kind of evolving? Anyone can jump in and start us off.
Well, I'll be happy to start. Oh. Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, hi.
You're good. Go ahead.
Lonnie, is it you or me?
You go ahead, Jen.
Okay, thanks. Anyway, I see the
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Thank you. Anyway, I see the state of community management really evolving, where it started out with internal communications trying to socialize their newsletters and IT looking at ticketing. It's really starting to move deeper into the business and become an actual business driver that is helping to move the business forward, and I think that's really exciting.
I'll jump in and add as well. We've definitely seen more improvements in the areas just beyond tasks and answering questions, which I think is what Jennifer's responding to too, is we're really seeing the benefit with around recognition and employee engagement. Those are two areas that we're really seeing traction on, and also for leadership to help get information out to employees that are not in just one location. We're starting a whole new workplace strategy where people may be off campus or remote working or between sites. So having an ESN to stay connected with each other and with what leadership is saying and what's going on in the company has really been important.
Yeah, I'll echo what Lanya just said. You know, our entire exec communication happens over Yammer. That's our internal community network. And so anybody who joins the company, you know, that's the place you go get connected, and that's how you basically get connected to the company. And you just have to develop a habit of checking on your Yammer every day. And so, you know, there's no more effective way to do this in my mind. So that's really picking up.
I want to tag on to what Jennifer said. I really agree that enterprise social networks are becoming more sophisticated, and I think we're seeing companies step up their commitments by hiring full-time community managers. That's certainly the case here at Humana. For the first 5 years of our ESN's existence, it was managed as part of one person's job. That's Jeff Ross. And then within the last year, Humana has made the commitment to hire a full-time community manager to take care of this one internal community. And that makes a lot of sense because you're looking at a really large population, not just of associates, but also customers too. So I think we're definitely seeing companies go to the next level in terms of understanding and supporting and resourcing properly their ESNs.
Yeah, I want to say that as well, that we've been seeing that here at Guardian, where leadership has taken the initiative to incorporate our ESN into everything that they do as well, and it just goes to show how serious they're taking it and how they see the value. So yeah, great points, Brenda.
Right, and I would just add to that is, you know, as executive leadership really becomes one of the keys for visibility, keys for priorities, keys for resources to support.
Looks like we lost you, Jennifer.
Yeah, it looks like we may have lost Jennifer. Did you guys have anything else to add to that, or are we ready to go into the next question?
I think let's keep
Good.
rolling.
Okay, let's go into question 2 then. What are the biggest wins and opportunities within the firewall?
I'll be happy to jump in and kick off this question. I think some of the biggest
You had
wins.
something to say there?
Yeah. Are we all set?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. I think some of the biggest wins and opportunities we're seeing within our ESN, some of the biggest wins we've had is our associates really taking ownership and finding ways to use our ESN to get work done. They're finding ways to collaborate together using groups or projects and managing those out loud online. So we're seeing some really great things develop in terms of working out loud on our ESN. One of the opportunities that I see emerging on our network is customer service. These are 45,000 internal customers, and I think we're beginning to see folks in different areas of the business, particularly internal facing groups. I think we're starting to see them awaken to this idea that, hey, we can take care of customer service issues internally and divert some calls from the call center. And in the process of that, we can learn from this internal group that's very invested and committed to the success of our business. We can learn some lessons that we can then take and apply externally as well. So I'm really interested to see how customer service begins to evolve on our ESN.
Yes.
Hey, Lania, you go ahead.
Oh, thanks. I was just going to say that some of our early wins, again, have been around recognition. That was one of the great ones, and using the praise features in our tool to help be more transparent and have two-way dialogue with management versus our employees, and also peer-to-peer recognition has been really important. We just had an engagement survey at the end of last year, and one of the biggest things that came out of that were more recognition opportunities. So HR's even committed to having a small budget for each team that they can use more peer-to-peer recognition through our ESM. And then also want to add around employee resource groups. So a lot of the grassroots that have been coming, usage that we've seen is through the use of communicating events around these employee resource groups. So we have a women's network, we have African American network, so a lot of them are using Yammer only to communicate their events and staying connected throughout the organization.
I think an internal community is probably the best place where people break the ice. So you have all these groups, you have local groups, and then you have an all company-wide group. So at various levels, people find their comfort level to say the first, hi, and that's important. So maybe, initially not everybody feels confident to speak where the execs are speaking, but, at these various little groups, they can start talking about, maybe start liking or a comment, but it's very, very important to break that first step and help them get connected to the company. So that's one thing I've seen. And then if you have a fun community manager, I think it's number 3, point number 3. If you have a fun community manager, who can inject that it's okay, come it's, some emoticons and some fun, and it goes a long way, and people follow, and ultimately want to have a human social environment, right? So it's a big win for internal networks. I think in many cases more than external networks, where people kind of dragging their feet and sometimes shy, the first-time adopters. I think it's a natural win for an internal network that way.
I'd like to just add a comment and build on what Anirban just said. One of the things that's really cool is within an enterprise social network, something that's a little different than an external network is you actually have the opportunity for people to know each other in real life. So you're extending real life relationships into this virtual space. And it can work the other way too. Relationships get developed virtually that then end up getting translated into real world in-person relationships. And that's a little bit different than external community, where you may communicate for years and have friendships that are built, but you never actually get to interact in real life. One of the other really cool things we're seeing on our enterprise social network is the connection between participation and engagement and performance evaluation scores. We've recently analyzed our associate engagement across the board. That's something Humana and lots of other companies do every year. And what we found is that the more actively engaged somebody is on our social network, the higher their engagement score. I think Humana has very high engagement scores anyway. We score in the 93rd percentile in the Connexa survey. When you look at just the active Buzz participants, that number jumps from 93 percentile to the 96th percentile. So there's a significant difference in those that participate in our internal social network and their engagement with Humana overall. Similarly, those that perform very well on their job performance assessments are typically those that are the most involved in our network. So we're seeing some really tremendous wins and opportunities within our community.
That's really awesome, Brenda. It's very, very valuable to have that data. It's good that you guys are able to pull that in. I have a question for you guys really quickly from Twitter here. Let me find the right screen. Just to make sure we're all on the same page, and for those who maybe aren't familiar with ESNs, can someone briefly define what enterprise social networks are, just to get that out there for everyone? Anyone can take this. Don't feel shy.
Well, I think it's this. Hey, I just jumped. I think wherever employees essentially get together, it could be the cafe to start with, and you need an online presence too. So whatever the technology means, as long as it's not email, that's like a social network, I'm sure.
And I'll just add to that. So an enterprise social network is really a social network like you would have Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook for the enterprise. So it sits behind the firewall, and it's the same method and manner of communication. You can create a profile, and you can work in groups, and you can have blogs and wikis, and it's really that coming together of all of those areas that makes it so special. So it's really applying the networks in the way of connecting you do in your personal lives into an enterprise scenario and situation with all the benefits of security and firewalls that keep company information private.
Yep, that's a great explanation, Jen. And I'll just build on that just to say that where we're seeing a lot of with recruiting is that employees now coming into the businesses, into companies, are used to connecting to people, information, technology, content the same way they do outside of work through all of these social media tools that they have. So an enterprise social network is doing that, as Jennifer said, just for business, to get work done, to add business value, to help you collaborate better with teams internally.
Right. And what's interesting, just to build on that, Lonnie, is just that as the demographic of companies gets younger, so now that millennials are actually in the corporation with the high age of 32, 33, is that they actually require to work this way, and so companies are really trying to get up to speed and incorporate these kinds of tools into the way people are working.
Yeah, that's all great stuff too, and I think what I'd add to that is that even the name Enterprise Social Network has been something of a little bit of a barrier. So when I go into talk to stakeholders, leaders over the last 5 years in Walgreens and building our community and our community and collaboration strategy, I actually refer to it as community and collaboration, and I try to take out the word social. For a whole bunch of different reasons. So I think it's interesting that as an industry we call it ESN, and we call it Enterprise Social Network, but I often don't use the word social just because it doesn't align with the goal of certain perceptions or certain optics of what that word means. So that's an interesting thing. I've always wondered at what point the industry will stop calling it Enterprise Social Network. I think it's kind of hanging around because we're familiar with Facebook and we're familiar with all the other social networks. But I think it would even make it more. It would increase adoption and engagement, at all levels, especially at the top level. Also, but I think there's something to be said about that. And then, but it's still, it's still important too because there is a social element involved in collaboration. So we're just in this interesting phase where I refer to it. I know it's an important part of it. So, communications perspective, just be careful not to use social to the point where it's a valuable tool, for the company. But it's interesting to see where that goes. The actual name, of that. But enterprise social network is definitely something that it's can be a technology platform, but like we were saying earlier, it's also a version of the actual networks, informal, built offline, but then these sorts of materials online. So Yammer, Jive, whatever it is, that's what I believe is an enterprise social network that often reflects the current networks that are made or being made within the company. So hopefully that all makes sense.
Yeah, I think I just want to add there to what Chris mentioned about not using the word social in the title of your community as well. I like the idea of community and collaboration because I think it also, the whole social networking, even externally, may turn off other generations like baby boomers or traditionalists. So I think that not using the word social, they think that's something their kids do or that they don't need or they don't have time for. So I think it's a great way to incorporate all the generations, all our red dots or yellow dots into the network as well without scaring them off.
Right. And also, one of the factors that I use to see how far an organization has gone with their network is whether or not they're still using the vendor's name. So instead of it making like Brenda, your buzz, or Chris, your system, or Lonnie, yours, that is really representative of the company and their culture and what they want it to be. When you walk in and they're still referring to it as Yammer or Connections, a la IBM Connections, there's a huge red flag that goes up that says, all right, they have not really taken the time to really integrate this into the company and the way they want to work and the culture they want to achieve as a result.
Well, that's a fantastic point there, Jennifer. Very, very true. It's not something external. Like I think if I understood what Chris was trying to imply, that it is going to be the natural way to work. With all the devices you're bringing in, mobility. And if you come to think about it, social business as a whole, and enterprise social network is just a part of it, right? It also incorporates all these file sharing systems, right? And typically in a corporation, knowingly or unknowingly, you would have all these document collaboration systems, and about 80% of their capabilities are kind of overlapped. One can do the other, and so you have these teams which are maintaining their stuff, their knowledge on maybe on a SharePoint, on a Confluence, on a Jira or whatever. But with a true enterprise social network or whatever you call it solution, you would probably not need 80% of them. You could go with one solid uniform platform which has the networking layer, which also has a document sharing, document co-authoring layer, which has blogging, which is projects. So so somebody, oftentimes people get Okay, so I will implement a social network. So there you go. So bring in blogging or just bring in WordPress. Why don't you bring in WordPress, or why don't you bring in forums of some kind? But there are very few. I think that's why it makes sense if you have the community manager very early on when you're building your strategy. Somebody who really understands social business and communities, so who can put perspective to things. That it's not just about a bunch of features, and then very soon in the midterm you realize that it's not capable enough. Um, so all of that, and if it has a very easy user interface that makes social networking easy, that's the natural way to work, isn't it? So you don't need emails, so to say, to communicate. So you have communications taken care of, you have all your knowledge sharing taken care of, or your corporate memories is preserved, and it has a personal touch to it. What I used to do in my earlier gig is after a meeting like what we had here, in our internal social network, I'd leave a status message at mentioning everybody, so no emails, and probably hyperlink to a document which all of us could co-create as the MOM, right? No emails, right? So stuff like that will start becoming very, very natural, and the default way to work, I believe. Was that very heavy?
Okay, great. Let's move us into question 3 here. How is ESN community management changing the way that we work? I know you touched on that a little bit, but maybe if we could expand on that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've done, which really started to take off in 2015, was working aloud. And a lot of the work that kind of a combination of John Stepper and Jane Bozath, I hope I'm saying her name correctly. But I really enjoyed what they've done and the books they've written. And what I've started to do is take some of the concepts and embed those into the overall strategy of our of our networks, our employee communities, so that people can start to better understand how to use the tool to help them work better, help the company be more efficient, and all these types of things. So as far as changing the way we work, it's really been pretty interesting and amazing to see how leaders work out and how audiences interact with store audiences, how our call centers interact with corporate and their own teams. So by taking concepts of working out loud and using the community roundtables, community or working out loud framework, all those tools together and embedding them into our overall strategy has really helped people understand how their contributions and this new way of working fits into what they're trying to achieve and fits into the picture of the company. So it's not just a bunch of commenting and liking and hopefully somebody gets their answers, which we do. We have a whole strategy of making sure questions are answered and kind of stuff. But using the working out loud framework and context has helped to change the way we work and get visible so we can track progress and everybody gets it, and little by little. And I'm no longer the person, the only person that's doing it. So we've begun to scale, and people working out loud hashtag that we use. So when people do it, we can track it, and we track it to see how it's spreading, and also track it to help other people learn how to do it. So little by little, we have our CIO, a lot of our leaders have begun to embed working out loud into their communication strategy and different things. So all these things have kind of happened and built up this really big swell within the last year, and it's going to be interesting to see how it continues throughout the year.
Well, great community managers are really able to make connections, and companies that are more mature have teams of community managers. So each group might have one, and then they kind of cross pollinate in different things. So the ability for a community manager to see what's going on with different groups and make connections and say, you know what, this is something similar that another group is working on, why don't you connect? Or you know what, I saw an expert here that might help you with a problem that you're having. And so community managers have this greater role than just working within a specific project or group, depending on the company. And there's a lot of value added to the organization as a result of their ability to really look beyond just a very small scope of work.
Yeah, I'll build on that. I totally agree. So in our network, we've established a team of power users as well within that can help drive engagement within the different business areas that they manage. So not just myself as an overall community manager, I can't see everything that's going on in all the groups. So we've kind of built this team that we can use to be the eyes and ears within the different parts of the area. And I think that's really changing how people are seeing the work getting done. And one initiative where our ESN has been really helpful is back to performance and being evaluated on your job. So not just did you meet the mark, did you get what you needed to get done, but how are you doing that? So what are the qualities and attributes that you're using to make connections, to build relationships? And our social network has really been able to help with that. So I've been able to as an employee, I can share my knowledge and help someone else get their job done, which then in turn I'll get recognized for too by being more transparent and open.
I'd like to add too that I think the single most powerful thing an ESN does for an organization is give the individual the power to ask a question and get it answered by anybody. So now questions have visibility that they just didn't have before. Before, if you had a question about anything, from a question about your benefits to how to perform a specific task, you were limited in your ability to find that answer by who you knew. You could turn to the right of you and ask that person, or to the left of you and ask that person, or you could call somebody, or you could send an email. But it might take you weeks in a large company to track down somebody that can actually answer your question. Now you can pop up on Buzz, ask your question, tag a couple of relevant groups, and sometimes get that answer within minutes, and usually get even more than you wanted. Here's an example of that. I needed help putting together an SQL query. I'm not fluent in SQL. I know enough to break things. So I went to the SQL group and I asked, how do I put together this query? And within, I think it was like 14 minutes, somebody not only answered my question and said, here's the logic behind it, here's how that should look. Somebody said, I'll just go ahead and write the query for you. Here it is, copy and paste this and you're good to go. I'm still using that query today. My friend Jason the other day had a question about, I think it was just, who do I email to get this done? Within 8 minutes, he had the answer. Before, it might have taken him weeks to track down that information. But now, not only do you have the power to ask the question and get it answered, other folks have the ability to jump in and answer it. That makes them feel good. That makes them feel like I'm knowledgeable and I have something to contribute. And you have a knowledge base that's built. So you've got collaboration and building a knowledge base. Because now if somebody else goes and searches on that same question, they're going to find your answer, their question's answered, and it's a lot more efficient than it was before. There's not as much reinventing the wheel. There's not as much time wasted in finding the right person to ask.
Totally.
Some of the things that I've seen, and I experimented, and I've been doing different experiments at Walgreens related to community management, and one of them was could I teach my boss and boss's boss what community management is without them really knowing, but also with them knowing it at the same time, both by modeling it myself within the network, modeling it in meetings, modeling it how I talk about our work. And it's really been interesting to see, how taking something like community management and applying it to a work environment, how I started to see people, become kind of like mini community managers, which has been part of my goal, to kind of scale what I do and make it as valuable to the company as possible, because I know I'm talking to the choir here, but I think having community management concepts within a company is going to make that company more competitive, better speed to market, all these types of things. So over the last 2 or 3 years, 5 years or so, it's been interesting to see my boss now has a better understanding, one, of what community management is, but also how he does it. So now he actually uses community management tactics or concepts to lead his team, our team, and so on and so forth. So little by little, it's been interesting to see within Walgreens how people are learning community management. Some people know that that's what it is because I've told them, hey, this is what it is, and then some people just are following me, following our champions. We have a whole bunch of champions, like what Anna had talked about. We kind of have the same concept. So by watching me or those people, those champions work out loud, answer questions faster, be a SME, all these types of things, community management within a company has started, at least within Walgreens, has started to certainly change the way we work. Sometimes we call it working a lot. Sometimes we call it working. Sometimes we call it the future of work. But I think at the center of that has been like community management concepts, and that's a large part of what I did. I used to work externally with customers before joining Walgreens, so taking a lot of external concepts, community management, putting them into internal ideas and context certainly changed how we work. It changes each day, but it'll be interesting to see how that develops.
Yeah, I'd love to catch up with you, Chris. That's so cool.
Awesome. All right. Let's go ahead and transition into question 4, which is how are ESNs impacting the customer experience and or integrating with external communities?
Can I jump in on this? Because I love this question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, please do.
We have a fantastic benefit available through Humana called Humana Vitality. And it's a rewards program where you get rewarded for healthy behavior. So every time I check in at my fitness center, I get 15 points. And every time I walk 10,000 steps a day, I get 15 points. And those points add up into rewards. We started with an internal community on Buzz, just a group for Humana Vitality to answer questions, to do troubleshooting, to share encouragement around meeting your goals, to make announcements about program changes, all of that sort of thing. That's been the largest and most successful group on our network, and a very active group. What we've learned out of that, first of all, it's ended up saving a pretty decent amount of money for Humana in terms of call center charges, because if you had a problem with your Humana Vitality account before, you'd have to call a call center and they'd have to pay somebody to answer a question. Well, they started doing customer care troubleshooting on Buzz in that Humana Vitality group, and they've estimated that they save at least $10,000 a year in call center calls. Just simply the one-on-one question answer. That doesn't take into account all of the people who use the Humana group as their knowledge base. Well, everything we've learned in that group, we're now translating into an external Humana Vitality community. And now Humana Vitality is open to people outside of just, it's open to all Humana members, not just associates of Humana. So all the lessons that were learned about community care and troubleshooting and all of that are now translating into this external community that's being stood up. Actually, it launched last fall. So enterprise social networks are a fantastic test and learn environment. You're testing with a community that's very committed to your success. So they're going to tell you the truth about your project, and they're going to help you learn things, and they're going to do it with a little more understanding even than your customers. So it's really good as a place to go and get feedback early in projects.
Yep. I'll add that we're using for our ESN for innovation and idea generation that will help drive customer service and product improvements. And so we just kicked that off maybe a few weeks ago, where we're asking a specific population that are frontline employees dealing with the customers on how would you improve our products, or how would you change this process that customers may have to go through. So, to Brenda's point, asking the subject matter experts internally really can help drive improvements and
Hey,
oh, go ahead, Erwin.
hey, no, please, Jennifer.
And just to add to that, when you think about customer experience today, most companies, actually I think all companies, are trying to figure out what digital means to the experience, how it's transforming, how social implications are for that whole experience, and the way the consumer is changing, whether you're a consumer or a business, whichever model you're in. And the ability to use an ESN internally to tap your network to generate ideas and even just hypothetically dream about what that experience could be is unbelievably productive. And when you look at taking it to the next level and expanding that conversation with your actual customers, talking to them about what they're thinking about, how they use your product or service, and really begin a dialogue and encourage that kind of engagement, you're getting deep insights that therefore you can translate into future products and services. And that's all in real time, in real communication, in ongoing communication, and that's incredibly powerful to the business and what you could create together.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
really great to hear that, Jennifer, because a lot of the stuff that we've had with our call centers has been like a combination of innovation, co-creation, and then even engagement. So we've gone through lots of change at Walgreens within the last year with the merging and all these different things going on, and it's been a huge thing to be able to have a network where our call centers can collaborate with each other, but also our call centers are all across different parts of the country. Our corporate headquarters here in Chicago, so we've actually had lots of situations where customers are calling into our call centers. Our call center reps are on the network within our communities, and they ask a question, and then someone from our corporate team will need to ask a question about like our Balance Rewards program. There's some policy thing going on there, and they were able to get that fairly quickly. And it wasn't just getting the information that they valued; it was the ability to feel connected to the corporate headquarters. Because in the past, we're hitting on engagement, we're hitting on away that no way they just wouldn't they wouldn't be able to do that today, or anywhere else. So it's interesting to see all those value points kind of come together.
can I add an example that happened recently quickly? So, so we have had hackathons, right, internally, and it's a great idea for an ESN to have something like that. Everybody's gamified. Under a stop clock, everybody is gamified to deliver. But if you are so fortunate that you have one platform which is also your external community and it has an internal layer. I mean, think about this. You have product ideation, right? So take the top 10 ideas submitted by end users of your product and now have a hackathon to meet them. It's a whole different value right there. So I believe if you have the opportunity to bring in those external value aspects, the ESN, you will never run short of great programs to run your ESN with. We moved to chat. I'm done.
Crickets. No, sorry. I was just saying this. There's so much good stuff today, but we're running out of time. So I was asking everyone what they wanted to jump to, just in case we don't get time to finish everything up. I know there's more questions on Twitter too, so if you guys want to take a look at those later and help answer them. But let's just, for the sake of time, go into what's your biggest tip for someone building community on an ESN, whether they're just getting started or they're picking up where someone left off, or just kind of from your experience, what do you think is something that most people don't know but should when they're working on this?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is you have to build partnerships. It can't just be a team project. It can't just be communications. You have to build a good, solid partnerships, and that's kind of what our story has been. You know, building communications and IT. We take it to do that, you know, and build a relationship, legal, HR, all these types of things. So I think partnerships and relationships, kind of more of a business type of, you know, skill or you know, aspect. And then also, you know, really, you know, experimentation. Definitely have a strategy in place, but the building some, you know, some experimentation. Take some risks, you know, with that. It's a little bit harder to do sometimes internally when you're working with different types of leaders and different things going on with, you know, with an organization. But you know, experiment, build parts, and really, you know, communicate well against what you're trying to do. You know, have those goals. And again, if all possible, don't use the word social. For some reason, that's worked out really well. I don't have exact stats to prove that, but I could say that our engagement and adoption has gone up when I transitioned from stop using social to community and collaboration, and really started to hone in on message and value and the purpose of our communities.
Great points, Chris. A few takeaways for me that I've learned over the years. One, you can't do it alone, so it's not just one person's job to help drive the community. It's a team effort, and so it can feel really overwhelming when you're starting in the beginning and you're tasked, hey, bring this thing up, and it's really, you need to build that community within your company even to help be successful. And also highlighting that it's really that culture before technology. So regardless of what platform you use, it really has to be in the culture, in the company, to say, hey, we're going to communicate differently. We're going to try new things. We're going to be more transparent. We're going to reward people for doing and acting those behaviors. And Chris just mentioned it about the strategy. Like, have those use cases as you're getting started too. Don't be afraid to fail and learn from those failures and start again. And finally, just getting leadership support and their participation. So sometimes it's easy to get leaders to say, hey, that sounds great, but you really want them to be able to participate actively as well and lead by example so other employees see the benefits. And then finally, that you'll know it's not an overnight journey. It's a long journey to see success. And so think about it, crawl, walk, run, you know, learn from your mistakes, start over, and you'll see success over time.
I think the journey comment that you just made is so critical. Understanding that this is, you know, basically a marathon, you know, something that you're not going to win by a sprint, and over time it's going to evolve and change, and things are going to really become important at different times. And it's really having a clear vision and strategy, like everybody talked about, that helps you get there. And also remembering to celebrate the serendipitous moments. Things are going to happen within your community that you never would have expected or anticipated, and to take a moment and really celebrate them. And, you know, understand that sometimes it's not just about metrics and measurement and, you know, moving each step forward. It's about really sitting back and taking a look at what's being created here.
All right. Am I? Yeah. Okay, I can't let this one go. Okay, so people, process, technology, right? People, like all of you have said, it takes a village. So make people win. It's not about the community manager. So make people win. The more you help them shine, the more the brand shines, and the more the ownership comes in. So figure out cool ways to do that. Of course, don't flatter people. Process to the management, I'd say it's okay. I mean, it's okay. It happens. It's life. It's social. Um, Let go a little bit. Let the community flow. And technology, of course, make the proper choice of technology. Have somebody who's qualified to assess ESNs come in, and not just some random guy, who's looked up a couple of free technologies suggest you. And one last message, of course, for the community manager, which is from my great mentor, Matt, from France, is be feisty. It's going to take a lot of muscle power, so be feisty.
Well, and Ervin, you made me remember one more tip, which is it's really not about you. It's about really clearly articulating what's in it for all of your constituents and making sure that you always put them first. If they're not getting value, deriving value, they're not going to want to give value, and the value that they give is their participation and engagement and time in this. So don't ever forget that. And I can't tell you how many companies I walk into and they're expounding what they want to accomplish with this, and not once did they stop to think about what's in it for their users and why they would want to participate.
Yeah, that's a huge part. Back when we started, I had 80 people that we talked with, and they're kind of a small subset of what I envisioned to be a large-scale rollout, and met with each of those people for half an hour to ask them what their three interests were, and that really kind of kick-started the whole process, of listening first and getting into what's really in it for them. On the chart, I run marathons, and getting around my first ultra marathon in a couple months. It's a journey. Managers, the launch syndrome. Definitely, starting small and growing is what has worked for us, and I think it's a sound process. Those can build something huge overnight. It just doesn't work like that. Little things over time build on the successes. And Jennifer, I like the way you said that. Celebrate. I think that's something I'm definitely going to walk away with a little bit more. I love to be go through things and accomplish things, but I think it's important to take that step back and give a fist pump, or just celebrate that moment of people connecting and really understand what's happening. I think that's important. To take it back. Good.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Before we step away here, I know we have some co-moderators for ESN chat, so if one of you would like to step up and just give a little plug so people know where they can plug in if they want to talk more about ESN chat each week.
Yeah, ESN chat every Thursday from 1 p.m. Central Standard Time or 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Twitter, and it's hashtag ESN chat. And again, I co-host that with the awesomely talented Brenda, Jennifer, and then Jeff Ross as well. So, and again, a big shout out to everybody who chimes in each week. It's an amazing hour. It's probably one of the quickest hours of my entire week, and I always walk away with big ideas and really deeper understanding of what ESNs are about and what we're trying to achieve. So it's great. I'll be honest.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and thank you, everyone. Also, Chris mentioned at one point Community Roundtable, so I wanted to go ahead and remind everyone again, if you have not taken the State of Community Management Survey for this year, it's still open until March 18th, so definitely go do that. We'll tweet out the link. And next week we're talking niche communities back here, so if that's a topic of interest for you and you want to be on panel, let me know. If you just want to join along on Twitter, then we'll see you there. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. This has been great.
Yes, thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Have a good day.